So as I'm logging in as an administrator, you can see that this is the workspace where we have logged in as the Kovair Agile solution. This you can think of as the project as a whole that's being managed for this Agile solution. Now, this particular Agile solution consists of objects or entities like release, which is into which the project is broken down into. Sprints are the short iterations to which a release is being broken. Product backlogs are actually the work items or the functional requirements that customers or the different stakeholders like the analysts are tracking, getting from the customer requests and tracking it in the application. Test cases and test sets are the test management entities used for test case creation, tracking, executions, and the defects arising out of this test is also being managed under the backlogs entity itself. Apart from that, task and timesheet are used for Kovair internal task and timesheet management system. And dependencies and requirements are two entities which have been used in a different purpose. For example, let's say while implementing a user story, there could be some dependency factors which are involved while developing a particular user story. Those dependencies could be some components that we are getting in from different external or external vendors, or could be internal or other groups. So we are tracking those under the dependencies entity. There could be some additional requirements apart from user stories. For example, the requirements with respect to data, the benefits. There could be some other non-functional requirements as well, which we are tracking under requirements. And in the process of time, we can link these dependencies or the requirements to the user stories or the product backlogs. So as you can see from the list that release 3.0 is currently the release in progress, and it's started from July and it's to October. So don't go by the date. It's a sample data, might be confusing at certain stages, but it's only for relevant test data. So once we go into the release details, this is the release custom form, and you can see apart from these dates, the plan started and the plan finish date are the two estimated started and finish date for this release. And with respect to the release, here there are certain sprints that it is being linked to, out of which the July and the August sprint have been completed, and as you can see, September sprint consisting of 4 weeks duration is currently in progress. Now, this particular sprint is having the user stories and the defects linked to it, and the total number of user stories consists of story points sum up to 82, whereas as of now the delivered story point as of yet is 34. So these are the sprint, these are the backlog items under this particular sprint, as you can see. So if I say group by type, so group by backlog type, and we are using a particular filter user stories which are assigned to this current sprint, you can see that two different types of backlogs are there. One is the user story. If we change this filter to all backlogs, you will be able to see certain defects also linked to this particular sprint. So you can have an expanding collapsible feature to this particular relation list by means of which you can view the data. Now, each of these user stories are associated with an urgency and a business value. Each of these urgency is associated with a weightage factor. For example, you can see this one is moderately time constrained, which is having a weightage factor of 3. At the same time, this particular business value for this user story is 2. So it's important to only few customers. Based on this urgency and business value comes a product which is 3 into 2 is 6, and this priority value eventually helps to prioritize the list of user stories when they are assigned to the team and they proceed with the development. So based on this, the team decides what will be the priority along with the product owner to the working with this particular items in the user story. Now, let me take you to the details of the user story and show you what are the different items that we are tracking over there. So as you can see, these are the different attributes of the user story, and it's currently assigned to a particular release, a sprint. It is having an agency, and based on the priority value, which is the product of agency business value, there is a set of process guidelines automatically calculated from the system. And you can see, since it's 25, it's internally pulled up from the system that what are the things that need to be done with respect to this user story. For example, it's critical, it must be done immediately, and it also requires some executive approval. Apart from this, a user story is assigned to the product owner. Product owner is responsible for this particular user story, who is Bobby, and this is the team who is responsible for implementing and completing this user story, and these are the members who are part of this particular team. Also, you can see that this particular user story has an estimated effort, and this effort is being calculated based on some external mechanisms. You can export the data to MS Project. We already have an integration with MS Project add-in, so you can transfer this user story to an estimation over there and import it back into Kovair. At the same time, you can use some estimation mechanisms like the planning poker and all to estimate the size of the user story, and based on that, you can eventually put forward it to the team to proceed further. On the other, the user story is linked to some dependencies, and this is the relation section which shows what are the dependencies it's linked to. You can see that these are the dependency factors, like the event APIs and the trend reports are two of the dependency factors, the components that we are expecting from some external source that has been delivered. And also there is an internal system interface, maybe being developed by some other groups, and that's being denoted as the internal system interface. Apart from that, it's also linked to some requirements, and this particular requirements could be of types, benefit types, it could be of type SR or data. And also the user stories are further linked to some tasks, which eventually the team lead creates as and when the product owner approves it and asks the team to move forward with it. So if we go with particular filter all tasks, you will be able to see different tasks being created with respect to each of the users who are members of the team, and tasks like UI design, coding, unit testing, with respect to which each users have worked on over a period of time. So now, with respect to this particular scenario, what I'll do is I'll quickly log in as an analyst and briskly take you through how he is working with the backlog, and at times he's entering a user story, and how the particular user story is going through the phases, and how the product owner is working with it, approving, estimating, and finally it gets to the team for taking it forward with their task being assigned. So let me log in as analyst. Alan is playing the role of analyst, and let me take with this. So as Alan logs in, let me quickly take you to the product backlog section, and we have configured our product backlog entity by 4 different categories of items. The different categories of items are, it starts with an epic, which is a very raw level customer story, or a very high level requirement that we receive from a user. And you can say that Outlook integration is such an epic, and an epic is broken down into a number of features, which eventually are more of some business level requirements based on which you can see that contact management, task management could be some relevant features that has been deduced out of this Outlook integration topic as an app. We further drill down, and you can see that this feature is again broken down into number of user stories. So categorically, we have started from an epic, we have broken it down to features and to more understanding elements like the user stories, which we are very familiar with, like the functional requirements. And then from there, it is further broken down into work items for the team, which we call it as tasks. So at this particular level, you can see that this is a Kovair traceability view page, allowing you to view a hierarchical architecture of all the artifacts that are involved and how they are linked to one another instead of the different category items belonging to the same product backlog entity. So let me now quickly go back and create a new user story. So as an analyst, I might have interacted with a customer, and at this level, I go ahead and create a new user story. So a unique feature of Kovair, it allows you to create multiple custom forms for multiple categories of items. As you can see, there are 3 forms corresponding to each of the entity types. I'll select the user story form to enter a new user story. So the user story could be as going something like this. Let's say as a lead, I would be able to reassign tasks. Okay, and I select the urgency as extremely time constraint, and out of this I can select it as extremely important. Product owner is the Bobby. Expand the description tab. Kovair provides a rich text description field, and you can put in rich text formatting features corresponding to this, and you can apply formatting features to the description. You can also link images to the description field, and we finally go ahead and link this user story to a feature. So this is a relation section by means of which we can associate features. So relating this to the task management feature. Additionally, Kovair provides separate system sections to attach files to a particular user story. Not only files, it also allows you to associate a URL, or you can also associate some notes to the attachment section. Additionally, with respect to the stakeholders to collaborate on a particular user story, you can provide in comments, and which can be used for future reference. So as an analyst, let's say this is extremely important, and we go ahead and save this. So as far as the analyst is being concerned, he has submitted the user story, and currently this particular user story is available through the filter called unassigned stories, because it is not yet been assigned to a particular release or to a particular sprint. So on expanding this particular filter and the view, you will be able to see that the user story has been assigned to the unassigned stories section. So once a user story is being submitted by the analyst, it is automatically generated an email to the product owner to look into this user story and work with this. So you can see as the product owner's inbox is very well understanding that there is a user story being submitted with the title, can see the description, the business values. So let me log in as the product owner to the system. So Bobby is the product owner. Let me log in as Bobby. Now, Kovair allows you to configure different landing pages for different groups of users. Now, as you can see, once Bobby logs in, he is taken into a dashboard by means of which he can see the different aspects of the project that's currently going on. A velocity graph reflecting that what are the delivered story points with respect to each of the sprints. Here is a burn-down chart corresponding to the current ongoing September sprint that you can see, and the total estimated effort is 262, and currently it says to finish it's 134 additional efforts are required to be done. Also, you can see that there is a distribution of user stories in a tabular format where user stories are grouped by sprint as well as it's grouped by status. So what I'll do is I'll quickly go into the product backlog section and work with that particular user story. So let me search for the user story that I recently submitted. So here is my user story, and I can, as an admin or as a product owner, I can go in and assign it to a user story and assign to a release and sprint. So I assign it to release 3.0, and here the sprint relation lookup is filtered based on the release that I select. So I select the September sprint, I assign it to the Omega team, and also based on some estimated size I have calculated, I put this as 26, and maybe based on the data that I pulled in from this project, it is supposed to take around 20 hours to complete. So with this information, I approve this particular user story. And to provide it at a rank, so what I can do is I have facilitated by a bulk edit operation facility called multi-edit in Kovair, and based on that, here you can see I would be able to see all my user stories in one shot from this multi-edit view using the filter that what are the user stories that are currently in my sprint, and from here I can see that this is the current rank that's going on, and this priority value for this one is 25. So currently I can rank it to at 1 or 2 level. So a rank is being provided, and it's currently being approved. At this particular time, if I log in as the team lead of this particular team, that's Omega team, you would be able to see that Tom manager, who is a team lead for this Omega team, already has got a task to create, has already received an email notification to create tasks for the different users. So if I go into the messages section, you will see that a notification email has already been in his account to create a task for it. So what I'll do is I'll go into the user story, and under the task section I quickly create some tasks. So I select the user story view and user stories in the current sprint. I scroll down, here is my user story. Let me click create some tasks. So here is my task section, and let me go ahead and create a few tasks. So I'll create a task for Margaret developer to develop this particular user story. So here is my user, the list of user, and I feel that it would take let's say 8 days, 8 hours to complete this particular user story. So save this, and this appears as a linked task under this particular user story. So here is a task that's been created. Let me go ahead and create a new one. So let's say another task is, let's say, test, and let's say this is assigned to tester, and assuming that this would take around, let's say, 10 hours of testing. Save this. So 2 tasks been created by Tom manager, but Bobby, as the product owner, if at any point of time wishes to see that what are the tasks or the work items that are required, Kovair provides a facility to look into that through its task board. So going into the task board page, Bobby can very well look into that what are the different tasks that has been created with respect to this user story. So if I scroll down, here is the user story that I created. Currently it's in the approved stage. It's supposed to take 26 hours of estimated time, and these are the 2 tasks that has been created. Now if I log in as Mary, if I log in as Margaret, again, as a developer, I would be able to see the task that has been created for me. So as a developer, I can work from my task, from Kovair, and this is the task that you can notice. I can work on this task, and at the same time, I can put in some timesheet effort also. So let's say after working in for some time, and I can go into the time entry, and let's say I can enter some time sheets. For example, let's say I have worked for 2 hours on this particular task. So submit, done. Now let's say Margaret is actually working from the Eclipse environment. So I can actually show you that these tasks created from the Kovair Agile solution are available to the Eclipse environment also through the Eclipse Kovair add-in that we have, based on which the developers working from Eclipse doesn't need to come into Kovair to view the details. They can very well get the user stories and the tasks from the Eclipse environment, and they can actually work from there also. So let me connect to this, and I am logging in as Margaret developer. And here you can see this is the tasks list. So it shows all open tasks. Click code. I would be able to see the developed task for Margaret. So let's filter it by my open tasks so that only it enlists. Here is the task. So let me modify this and update the status. So currently it's in the not started stage. Let me put it into in progress and save this, so that you will find that this particular task is updated into the task board as well. So if I come back into Bobby's list and do a refresh of this particular task board, you will find that the Margaret task has proceeded under the in progress stage. So here you can see it's in the develop stage. At the same time, the task board has facilities to drag and drop tasks from one group to another. Similarly, I can drag it and drop it into the other sectors as well. So not going into the details of the other tasks, now let me quickly show you how you can actually deduce test cases from this test management system. So over here, let me log in as a tester to show the different test cases that you are having at this particular level. So let me log in as a tester into the application. So I'll not go into the details of how you can create test cases and all, but I'll quickly browse through the different test cases and how you can execute it to create test runs and all. So here you can see that this is a particular test case previously created, and this test case has a couple of test steps. On execution, this test has rendered a number of executions over a period of time, and based on the run, a defect has also been created on the execution of this particular test case. So as and when the test run execution has failed, as any of the steps has failed, a defect has also been created out of this. So here you can see a defect on one hand is also linked to this particular user story. So since there is a crunch of time, I couldn't show you much of our test management, but we can obviously have a more detailed session on this. So now let me take you back to our traceability view to show the different entity items that are linked and that we have linked using this particular flow, and show you how or what are the different hierarchical items that got linked to one another. So if I'm going into the product backlogs list, let me log in back as the administrator. So here is the release traceability, and we have a complete release traceability view over here. So the release traceability view. So let's take this particular release 3.0 and proceed it forward with this. So you can see the release is having a number of sprints into it. Drilling down the September sprint, you can see it is linked to a number of user stories. If you are drilling down this particular user story, number 9, you will find it's linked to tasks on one hand, to features on the other. So here you can see that this particular user story is linked to a number of features, number of tasks. It's also associated to a test case. It's associated to some features. As you can see, if we expand this task, it's having the epic link to it underneath. So here is the epic. If we expand this test management part, you can see that this particular test case is associated to test runs, and it's taking a little bit of time in opening up the test run information under the test case. So here are the test runs, and under the test runs you can also have the defects. Now moving to the dashboards, from Bobby owners, a user can have multiple dashboard pages, number of dashboards, multiple dashboards can be assigned to a single user. So the earlier dashboard that I showed you is the dashboard related to the information of sprints. You can also configure dashboards related to user stories, which is more focused to the epic features of user stories, and information like how the backlogs are distributed, or the business value or urgency. You could have distribution matrix, and you can bring in some information like enable rotation, or you can say enable slicing movement, and you can expand this so the slice gets out of there. So all these needed features are available. Each slice is having drill down facilities, and these functionalities and features are available across all these graphical items, the graphical gadgets that are available into the dashboard. So each of these items, as you can see, not only a single entity data, but you can also have reports coming in from multiple cross-entity information. And you can see here it's showing a report where user stories reflects whether they are already been covered by any test cases or not. So such a report can also be very useful from the management perspective to see what are the requirements which are covered by test or not. Another could be something specific related to test and defects. So Kovair allows you to create such reports and include it in the dashboard. I didn't go into each of the reports to specifically talk about the different reports, but showed you dashboard by means of which the total consolidated of different kinds of report that Kovair allows you to create are visible, and you can understand the power of dashboard capabilities from Kovair. So with that, I conclude my presentation and open and keep myself and Rajshekhar open for any of the queries that you have from your side. Thank you. So over to Rajshekhar. Thank you.